In this scenario, located just past the old mining town of Tortuga in the foothills adjacent to the San Cristobal National Forest is the X-Bar Ranch, which consists of one section of 640 acres of private deeded land and a 15,000-acre grazing allotment in the National Forest. The X-Bar Ranch is in the hands of the executors of the estate at the current time because Ed Middleton and now his widowed wife have passed. The ranch was left to the three children, but for unknown reasons, they have decided to sell the ranch because they have no reasons or intentions of becoming ranchers. To add to the ranch land situation, there is a partial payment of inheritance taxes by the Middletons due in 6 months, so there is even more urgency to sell the land. So far, all of this makes sense and seems logical, but it is never that easy. Here is where the problem begins. Elena Sainspina and Toby Nunn own the ranches on either side of the Middleton property, meaning that the Middleton ranch land lays in the middle of Elena and Toby's ranches. And both were disappointed that the three children decided to sell the land because it has been a long-standing tradition between the three families. These three families have worked together because Las Culebras Wash snakes through all three ranches, and for many years, all three ranch families jointly managed fencing, flooding problems, droughts, and drops in cattle prices. When Ed Middleton died over 10 years ago, Elena's son Gil promised to manage the land and had intentions to buy the Middleton ranch land, but he cannot yet afford it. To add to this scenario, the city of Tortuga is becoming more popular and is starting to work its way towards the ranch land. As anyone could figure out, big lots of open land are of high value to any real estate developer in an up-and-coming city or town, and the Middleton ranch land looks promising. This is why Sidney Stone, a developer from Sierra Grande, has secured an option to purchase the X-Bar Ranch from the Middletons, conditioned on securing certain zoning approvals. Her plan is to create a cluster development of 400 homes on a 800-acre portion of the ranch land, and then to save a portion of the ranch land for grazing. Even more has been added to this scenario. The U.S. Forest Service, with the ranchers' opposition, made an administrative decision to reduce grazing allotments of the Las Culebras management area by 1/3, in which the ranchers said they will appeal if it passes. Also, an environmental group called SAGE has stepped in, asserting that not enough has been done to protect the riparian habitat along the Las Culebras Wash, which is home to the rare gray hawk. SAGE has argued that the habitat is being destroyed by overgrazing, and its leader, Corey Flintlock, has been preparing to sue the Forest Service. Flintlock's first reaction to the reduction in overgrazing was supportive, even though it was guarded. Brady Euclid, the county planner, has been very worried about all of this because Stone's proposed development violates the area's recently completed comprehensive plan, which calls for residential growth and expanded urban infrastructure on the west side towards Sierra Grande. Stone's options are now limited, and if she does not pass the zoning laws, the ranch land has been proposed to be divided to 160 ranchettes, and at this point, the planning board has retained 2 facilitators from an out-of-state conflict resolution firm to convene with the major stakeholders for 2 days, once a week, for 2 weeks, to come up with a solution with the stakeholders available. So in this case, you have the ranchers wanting to keep the family tradition and buy the land and to not have the grazing reduced by 1/3. The Middletons just want the land gone and to have their money before the inheritance tax is due in 6 months. Stone wants the land for development and economic gain, Sage wants the riparian areas managed right, and the planning board simply wants all of this resolved in one solution. I personally have chosen to side with the ranchers in this case because they are not able to continue family traditions and are losing their sense of normalcy with the intruding development coming in. This does not mean, though, that all aspects can't be beneficial. There just needs to be a solution. In order to create a win-win solution, there must be a way to divide up the land where everyone wins in the simplest way possible. The biggest sense of urgency is getting the Middleton children paid before they just sell to the first person with complete disregard for family tradition. When your back is on the wall, you will make irrational decisions. The ranchers more or less want the land because of the body of water that goes through their land and the Middleton land. But the Sun-Gill cannot afford the whole thing. This may be beneficial because Sage wants those lands protected for the riparian areas for the Gray Hawk. Stone already mentions not using all of the land, which may also be beneficial. The best solution would be to sell the land to Stone completely or sell a portion to Stone. Stone wants the land and can afford it. Have Gill purchase the land which encompasses the waterway through the land to manage, so all three areas can still work together during any needed event. If Gill can still not afford this portion of the land, Rancher Elena and Rancher Toby could join forces and split the land and enlarge their ranch or purchase the land with intentions of selling to Gill. So, Stone would get the housing development zoning permits. Even though the specific layout may need to change, I don't find it that important right now. The important part is the land being sold so the Middletons can be on their way. The only real outlier here is the reduction in grazing by the Forest Service by 1/3. But as long as more grazing animals are not purchased by the ranchers, they can continue with the same amount of animals, just manage more land if they purchase the waterway land. Regardless of the opinions or ethics of the Middleton children, is almost moot in this case because it is their land and they can basically do what they want with it. They just need it sold before the taxes come in. There are possible options depending on what the conflict resolution can portray to the Middleton children, but with what is left on the table currently, the most beneficial solution would be to split the land for more affordable reasons for the ranchers and have a collaborative management group to manage the riparian areas for overgrazing. I propose that Sage manages the land in a collaborative group made up of the ranchers, Sage, and the Forest Service, and even Stone, to prepare for any sort of overgrazing and to create a sustainable management plan so that the overgrazing doesn't occur. In this way, I see a win-win solution for all parties, and I'm looking forward to some feedback here so I can adjust my solution because this one's a little more complex than the last one. Thank you all and have a great week.